All right, guys. So quick announcement real quick. Obviously, I don't have my video guy here. I don't have Devin. He is sick. So had to run this through the Zoom call. Hope you don't mind. Sorry about it. But again, we still got what we needed. We got Laura Phelps, one of the strongest females in the world. She came on the podcast and we talked primarily about strength, about how we can increase strength through special exercises. Also her overall story on how she got started in powerlifting, how she got with Westside Barbell and Louis Simmons, and then what she's doing now and the things that she's doing with her coaching and her, her online programming and all of her stuff that she has from a business side. So it's very interesting talk. Obviously I do love to talk to individuals that have accomplished a lot of things. And this young lady squatted 775, bench 540, deadlifted 560 at 165. And she also competed in the 181 to 198 weight class division. From an overall perspective, one of the strongest females in the world. She's lifted 11 times body weight total with all of her 3 lifts combined. So she is the true definition of a strong individual from the inner and outer part, right? We're talking physical and mental, because you have to be a little bit strong mentally to do the things that she's done, and obviously physically there. So again, hope you guys enjoy it. Before we do that, before we get into the conversation, I have to make sure that I shout out the sponsors. Revive MD, revivesubs.com. Go on there, check them out. I have my very own athlete stack supplementation that you can get for 20% off if you use a discount code Daru Strong 20. You go to revivesubs.com, look up Phil Daru Athlete Stack, and you can see all the things that we have in there. Very good for any combat sport athlete, along with any sport athlete, and just general to get you healthier, feel better, and have you performing at your best. Another thing that I wanted to make sure that you guys know, that we are doing another sale. If you do want to get involved in that, also if you want to check out my online mentorship course, my body armor program, my body weight program, that is 8 weeks long. I know we're in a time of a pandemic. COVID is running rampant right now. So for everyone, I'm trying to make sure that you guys are staying in shape, staying in the best, healthiest position that you can be. So if you go to darustrong.com, you can check out what we have there. And then also, again, get your training on. No matter what you're at, no matter what's going on in the world, you can still maintain and progress going further. All right, now let's get on to the interview.
Welcome to the Daru Strong Podcast. Daru Strong Podcast.
Let's go. Mind over matter. Put your mind somewhere else and keep going. That little voice in your head is trying to stop you from getting to where you want to be. Be successful and keep moving forward.
With your host and world-renowned strength and conditioning coach, Phil Daru.
Can we go over like your start? I know you were a gymnast, correct, in the beginning? And then your transition into powerlifting and then going to Westside. How'd you get started in the industry and in the strength sports entirely?
Well, I started in gymnastics. I was 4, and I started doing gymnastics and did that all the way through high school. I did other sports too, like, gymnastics was my main thing, but I did like soccer and track and things like that. But then when I got into college, I just didn't know what to do, because I always did organized sports. So I was like, I didn't know how to just like work out.
Yeah.
And I remember like I went to Ohio State first. And I would just go to the rec center and I would just do the same things. I would like kind of look around and see what people were doing. I would do some lat pull downs. So, just the most random workouts. But, I started doing that, but it was more so cardio based. I would just like run all the time. I ran some marathons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A couple marathons, some 5Ks, 10Ks, things like that, through college. And then after college was when I was working in the fitness center at General Motors in Toledo.
Nice.
And so I'm working in this fitness center, and there's like a weight room, and I just was like my body was really beat up from running all the time.
Yeah.
It was like, I need to start doing something else, and, you know, kind of started getting into weight training, and, but not for powerlifting. It was more for bodybuilding.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I was working at was working in a fitness center, but I worked out at a Powerhouse gym, and it was very much like bodybuilders and things like that. So, so that's kind of, you know, that's just like all I knew. I started doing a few bodybuilding shows. I only did that for like about a year, year and a half, did like 3 bodybuilding shows. And,
how'd you like that? How'd you like it, by the way?
I mean, I like being competitive. So it was fun the day of the show because, you know, I mean, I think my gymnastics background helped. I like being on stage, the stage presence and things like that. But the whole preparation for it sucked. I hated dieting like that strict, and, you know, and just off and on of this diet, you know, I was just like, oh my gosh. And the training was, I love working out, but like, you know, I don't know. Once I got into powerlifting, I enjoyed that a lot more because of, you know, you have like teams of people you train with, training partners and things like that. So, I mean, bodybuilding is what kind of segued me into powerlifting because, you know, bodybuilding, and then there's a couple powerlifters in the gym, and, you know, they're like, you should do like a non-sanctioned powerlifting meet with, you know, they did those a lot back then. You know, just like push pull, you know, in the mall, you know, in a department store.
Wow.
I know.
What year was this, by the way?
This was 2004, 2005.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, about 15 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't powerlifting wasn't big at all at that point, right?
Not really. I mean, it was, but it wasn't, especially for women, it wasn't really big. Like, you know, especially, I mean, for a long time that I competed, you know, there was only a handful of women that you would be at a competition. You know, I might be the only one competing, or there'd be 1 or 2. But yeah, it wasn't like really big until I can't even pinpoint what year it was that it really blew up, but it was more like later in my career.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're doing the bodybuilding. What did you do? Figure, fit? I don't even know it. So don't feel like offended. I hope you're not offended by this. I don't know.
No. They only had like, you know, well, they did have fitness, figure, and bodybuilding when I did it. So I did bodybuilding, even though when I competed, like the last show I did, I weighed in at 121, like 121 pounds. Like, you know, so I was like tiny for a bodybuilder, but I probably would have enjoyed more if they had the physique, or is it, physique.
Fitness or physique or something. Right?
Yeah, physique. Yeah. Like that's the one that's not bodybuilding, but it's not figure.
It's like right in the middle.
Yeah. I would have liked that, but they didn't have that.
Yeah. It's funny. I did one bodybuilding show and I did well. I did one bodybuilding show and I was like, while you're in it, you're like, oh, this is the only thing. Like, this is it, you know? And then I got out of it and I was like, I was still training. I was doing strongman at the time and I was still, actually, I just retired from MMA and I was like, I need to do something, right? So I'm like, I got to compete in something. And I was like, I shrunk my body down to make a weight class forever for 10 plus years. And I just wanted to gain back the muscle that I had in high school and in college. And so I'm like, well, how can I do this to that level to where I know that it's very important for me at least. And I'm like, all right, I got to compete in bodybuilding because that's the only way I know that I'm going to stick to it to that degree, you know? And
that way.
It was crazy. And my son was, my son was just born. So like I was still doing the dieting thing and getting up, doing the 5 a.m. cardio thing. And I came in really good. But the problem that I had was that with years of cutting weight, like totally messed up my metabolism.
Right.
So, and doing it the wrong way. And that's why like I love having guys that actually know what they're doing when it comes down to weight cutting, because back then we really didn't know much. And I'm pretty sure you went through that too as well a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for sure. Now it's like, it's so much better. People know how to do it a lot better now. I mean, I don't know, it was just so old school before, you know, and, you know, whether it was for bodybuilding or for, you know, cutting weight for competitions, you know, whatever sport it is, it's like, it was just like, just crash diet, you know?
I know it. So, all right. So now bodybuilding's done. How did you get hooked up into doing powerlifting full time?
Well, I really didn't intend on like totally quitting bodybuilding. I just thought I was going to do some powerlifting type training because that last show I did, when I talked to the judges about what I needed to do to improve, you know, it was I needed more thickness in my back, like my upper back and things like that. And so I was like, well, I'll start deadlifting and I'll start, squatting. I really didn't squat heavy. I just did a lot of like leg press and hack squats and things like that. So started incorporating like deadlifts and squats into my training. And I remember I heard about Louis Simmons, and he was like this world-class powerlifting trainer. And so bought all of his VHS tapes. That's what they were at the time. And then I heard he was doing like a little mini clinic after a powerlifting meetup in Cleveland. So drove there, watched some of that. And now that I think back to it, I mean, it was a USAPL bench press meet, which is hilarious. And stayed after to hear him talk. And so started, kind of hearing what he was saying and trying to, it's so hard though. Like, I get why people would be kind of, if you don't know anything about training and you hear Louis talk and stuff, it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing to hear him talk, but to leave there and like try to put together your own program is really overwhelming. So that's why, I can see why people are like, well, I'll just go do this, 5x5 or whatever, progressive overloads, stuff like that, because it's just easy to understand. So, I mean, I did the best I could at trying to incorporate some stuff into my training, watched all the videos and things like that. But I still was intending on competing again in bodybuilding. I was going to do the next thing I would do would be like nationals or something. And, but then a couple people at the gym that I was training at, the Powerhouse gym, started talking about doing these non-sanctioned meets. So I did a couple of those that were just like local. They were just for fun. And I really enjoyed it. I was like, this is awesome. Like, I just specifically remember like doing this one deadlift, and it was like, one of those deadlifts that take forever and you're grinding and everybody's cheering. And I was like, this is so cool.
It's a lot different than bodybuilding.
Definitely. And like a couple of the guys, that were at that gym that were powerlifters, they're like, you should train for like a real competition, like a 3 lift competition. And I was like, I just decided, okay, that's fine. I'll do this. We picked out a competition it was probably 5 months later. It was like in the summer of 2005. We picked one out, signed up for it. And I had to hurry up and buy a bunch of gear because like back then raw powerlifting wasn't the thing really. Everybody was equipped, so I quickly bought a pair of squat briefs. I bought a bench shirt. Those are the only 2 things that I got right off the bat. And then, fast forward a little bit, I started going up to Detroit to train at a gym because it was a group of like older powerlifters that were retired. Started training with them, and one of the guys there gave me a squat suit. So I just think back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. I'm like, just rushing into something. And now I look back and I'm like, it's insane that I like just picked out this meet, bought a bunch of gear, and threw it on, learned it really quick, and then did a meet, So when people ask me all the time, what should I start? And should I start raw, then go single ply, then multiply? I'm like, as long as you have a solid base, a solid foundation, you've been training, which I had been, I think you can kind of, if your interest is multiply powerlifting, you can kind of jump right into it.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because you have that large background in athletic sports, right? So like I always say, like gymnasts in general, they can transfer over to any other sport more effectively because they have that baseline movement capacity. And then from there, like you're looking at, okay, obviously you went head first into, it was multiply right at the time. Obviously that was the only thing. So you were athletic enough to get into the gear and still perform. And again, you didn't have time to really think about it at that point. And I think that was probably better, at the end of the day.
No like doubts. I mean, and I was lucky enough to have the knowledge, the people around me that had so much experience, with the way things are now in powerlifting, where there's a lot of, it's, some multiply, but a lot of raw lifting. Like if there's a lifter at a gym somewhere in some random city, and they have an interest in multiply powerlifting, but nobody around them does it. Like how could you really get started in that? It would be really hard. You really need a team of people because with helping, let's say, pull you into a bench shirt or set your shirt. I'll do all these things for you with multiply. So it kind of bums me out because I love multiply powerlifting, and I, really try to advocate for it, but I get that it's hard, and it makes me sad that it would be hard for someone somewhere that wants to do it but can't because they don't have the resources.
Yeah, and that does go back, because I know Louis talks about, having training partners is very important. And I've done, I'm a power lifter now. I've done meets. I've done around 11 meets so far, all raw. But I could see the benefit from just having that environment. And obviously Westside is the ultimate environment for you to lift heavy weights. Right. How important was it for you coming in as a female with all these bigger, stronger guys helping you out, and then you being like on the top of the mound, and everybody's kind of watching and cheering you on? Did that kind of help a little bit? Yeah.
And I'm like a little different, and I'm just more self-motivated. I don't really, I did, go to Westside on the weekends, and then throughout the week I would train like in Toledo, and then moved back to Cincinnati and opened a gym. And at that time, like there was me and one other guy in the gym, and I still, some of my best years of powerlifting, like were years that I really didn't have, I would only have maybe one or two people that I could train with. And, so I didn't have this like intense, crazy atmosphere to push me. I was really self-motivated just by beating my own numbers, whether it's training numbers or in meets or whatever, because it had to be like me against me. Cause like I said, a lot of meets, I wasn't competing against anybody else. So it was more of like, trying to break my own record or break a new record or something like that was what motivated me more so than, beating someone else in the gym or something.
Yeah. Now, were you always that self-motivated? Obviously, being a gymnast and doing bodybuilding and things of that nature, that was something that you always
I was
had.
more of like an individual sport type of person. I just really, like to just count on me and me only, and not let anybody else down. I would just only like have to, focus on myself and do that. So, I think, just growing up and doing like, individual type sports, it just kind of helped with that.
Yeah, I think that does play a big role in understanding a personality trait too, as well. Because I have sport athletes, or I should say field sport athletes, that have a team that they can rely on, and some of them actually like that because they can, the camaraderie there, their ability to kind of lean on each other. But then I have the guys that, like my fighters, that don't need any of that. They're very self-motivated, like yourself. And I think that goes with just having that personality, that upbringing. And then again, there really is, it's one or two things. It's all up to you. You have nobody that you can blame, or you can, basically be happy with the result that you've gotten because it was all you. So there's it's a give and take there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So if you miss the weight, well, you missed the weight. There's nothing,
I had no one else to blame.
Exactly.
You see people in powerlifting, though, they'll find a million things or people or program, whatever to blame. But ultimately in this sport, you're the only person you can blame.
I know it. So, all right. So now going along the line, so now you were traveling, you were getting your work in, you had that one or two training partners. When were you decided, did you ever train at Westside full time, or was it more just like kind of traveling?
No, it was always, I never lived in Columbus. I was just more like, I want to be a part of Westside. Like I want to, train under Louis. I want to represent Westside when I go to competitions, but I also want to build a life, I want to like work and things like that, like I can't really just like put all my eggs in one basket. So I just kind of balanced both things, and would drive there to Westside on the weekends and train a couple days. And I definitely always trained on Sundays with George Halbert and the bench crew on Sundays. And then, the other day would just be whatever I could fit in there. Gotcha. And then the rest of the week I would just train wherever I was living, in Toledo or Cincinnati or whatever.
So that's great. Honestly, I think that you would think that would probably be more helpful, because now you don't have so much, so much stress buildup, like having to be there at certain times all the time and everything else. For me, when I was fighting, I used to travel to different gyms all the time. Like I was American Top Team, but for the most part, like I go to this gym, I go to that gym, because I would get what I needed from each coach or each training partner. And I think that stopped me from being like stir crazy. You know what I mean? Like it was more easy for me to do what I needed to do and not get stale, right? Things are always changing for me. And that's kind of why I run Conjugate now with all the fighters, because I know that they don't like routine in a way. That's why they're MMA fighters. They like to do different things. So what did you contribute for the most part, your strength? I mean, what was your numbers, by the way? It was a lot.
775 squat at 165, 540 bench. I did at 181 and 198. And then 560 deadlift, and then an 1,800 pound total. Okay.
I just want to get these numbers down.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And you were 181, 198, pretty much your entire.
165 was my class, but like, if I didn't cut like the 6 or 7 pounds, I would go in to a competition at 181. I wasn't a full 181. Yeah. And then I did one competition where I just like really beefed up, and then I was like really close. I was at the top of the 181 class. So I like ended up just eating everything in sight that day so that I could weigh in at 181.9 or whatever I needed to be the 198 class. And the only sole purpose of doing that was just to get a meet in and try to, at that time, when it still is, I think, Crystal Tate might have beat it, but Becca Swanson, she dominated everything. Yeah. And so she had the records at 198. And her bench record in the 198 class was the most attainable for me. It was like I think she did 500 at 198. And I was like, and I had done 540 at 181. So it was like, kind of I'm super good friends with Becca. It was just kind of like a cool accomplishment just to beat her in anything, like anything at all. So, so that was kind of cool. I just did that one meet to try to get that bench record, and I did the 540.
Nice. So did you? And
I've even gone down to 148. So that's.
Oh yeah.
That's how I still have the world record bench press in all those weight classes: 148, 165, 181, and 198.
Damn. All right, I gotta put these down. Hold on. All right, cool. That's crazy, to be honest. So like, I know. What was your hardest? Because for me, the deadlift is probably my hardest lift.
Yeah.
What was your hardest lift? Was it the bench? Was it the deadlift? Obviously, it wasn't the damn squat, because you killed that.
Right. Squat came easy to me, especially in the beginning. That's why the squat went up super fast. Like that first competition I did, that we picked out, and I bought all that gear and stuff, I squatted 550. And by September, that was in June. And then by September, I squatted 705. Like, so it was like, that first year, my squat went up to 705. And then it took years and years and years to put that extra 70 pounds on. That's why I always tell people, I'm like, the sport is not for someone who's impatient, because it took, to put 70 pounds on my squat, it took many years. The bench press at that time was my hardest lift. I was, not that this is a weak bench, but it was like around 300. It's a lift I always struggle with, even when I was competing in bodybuilding and training for bodybuilding. Like, it was just, I remember how long it took me just to bench one plate, 135. It was like such a big deal to bench 135. And so that was like my hardest lift initially, but it became my best lift because I just really worked on it, and went and trained with George Halbert, and really good bench pressers, and like really learned how to be strong on the bench press. And deadlift was pretty strong for me at that time, but then it just became like a struggle all along. And the 560 is a good deadlift. It was number 2 of all time. But it just really, comparatively to the other 2 lifts, it was just like super frustrating to not get that world record in the deadlift, but to have everything else. So I'd say ultimately for me too, it's deadlift.
Yeah. So I know that there's certain things that you use to help increase, let's say for instance, your squat.
Right.
You have your testers, your builders. We all know that. What was your builder for the squat in general? whether it be box squat or whatever?
Definitely box squatting. I mean, I was like a technician. I love teaching the box squat, because I think, having a gymnastics background and having that body awareness, I really knew how to like take a movement and like get the most out of it. So, for the box squat, it was like, okay, like how technically can I do this to get the most out of it? And, so I enjoy teaching that now to people because, I watch them do the box squat and I'm like, you're really not getting the benefit out of this. You're not sitting back, your shin angle is not vertical from the side and from the front, all these things, so I think that like being like really super technical in the box squat really helped us, at least for the carryover to multiply powerlifting, the wide stance. And, although, I mean, I always tell people like raw lifters too, like box squatting has a huge benefit, huge carryover to raw lifting as well, especially a carryover to your deadlift and for your lockout if you're doing it right, the box squat properly. So for me, like the box squat was what really built my squat. Anytime I would do a free squat variation, like that's just a tester, like you said, that was a tester, not really a builder. For me, it was box squatting, and then all the accessory work too, all the hamstring work and things like that helped build my squat, but doing, proper technique and getting the most out of box squats is what really, really helped me. I mean, I remember deciding like, let's add in some jumps, and, even just doing plyometrics and stuff like that. I mean, like for having not doing them at all. And then like, doing so much box squatting, then deciding to like test like my, max box jump, stuff like that. It was always really good for, being a power lifter and a short person,
What was it? You did a 41-inch box jump?
42 and a half.
42 and a half. See, didn't mean to shortchange you on that one.
Yeah.
That's great, man. All right. I'm taking notes, obviously. You see me taking notes, right? So what about the bench though? What was your builders for that?
For the bench, I'd say, for the bench, I only ever got in my bench shirt occasionally. Like once I learned how to use a bench shirt, I tried not to use it too much in training. I did a lot of more, 90% of my training was raw. So,
Gotcha.
Any raw variation, bench against chains, reverse band bench, any of those, keeping my raw strength up had a direct correlation to my bench, so I really focused on keeping my maximal, like my 1 rep max raw bench up, so doing that, and then heavy dumbbell work. Once I started pushing my dumbbells, that was just like just by accident. Like I had a girl that started training with me, like how I said, like this is where having training partners does help, because I was training by myself and I always push myself, but once this girl started training with me and she was really strong, she was a super heavyweight and she started getting really strong. She started pushing, like she would like start getting on my tail for like different accessory movements. The next thing you know, I'm like moving heavier dumbbells than I've ever moved with my accessory work, and my bench started going up, so just really pushing my accessory work and having someone push me like that helped kind of build my bench. But as far as like wearing the bench shirt, doing heavy overloaded band work, so like to like a 2 board, anything that like really overloaded the top end, for me in a bench shirt made a huge difference, because I was just doing straight weight shirt work, and then once we started adding in like I said, like 2 board against like I'm like 250 plus pounds of band tension, then I started taking weights out, when I would take out 500 pounds of straight weight, it didn't feel so like overwhelming. It didn't feel like so crazy in my hands. Like it felt like kind of light when I would take it out, and I just didn't struggle with the lockout anymore. So it's kind of psychological more so than strength building.
I feel that a lot with the bench too. Like if especially if you're taking it out yourself, like if I can feel that weight and be strong there and grip that bar as tight as I can, I know it's going to come up. When it feels heavy for me, especially like mid-range, and we're lifting raw, so like mid-range for me is like the worst. My triceps from just years of punching is there. So like if I get it to here, I'm blasting it. But if I have to get it off my chest, And that's the major issue. So that way I was doing more wide grip, like almost illegal grip work too as well. And then the dumbbell work did help too. Also.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know I've seen you do, and I've seen you, I was watching a video last night of you doing a lot of special exercises. I think was it the Sumo Box Deadlift? I like those.
Oh, yeah. Deadlifts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do them a lot with my boxers, believe it or not.
Yeah.
To get that vertical shin angle and to just be able to sit back.
Right.
Because they're so quad dominant, it's very hard for them to like really understand how to use the hips and hamstrings.
Yeah, definitely. So
that has helped us a lot. And then I like the 45-degree angle bands that you put on with the sumos or any type of pull variation. You know?
Yeah, we put bands from the front with everything. Good mornings. Chair deadlifts, anything like that. Just bands from the front. Box squats with bands from the front, just to kind of reinforce technique and, you know, force you to keep like a good chest position, you know? Yeah.
All right. So I'm being kind of selfish here, so let's take some notes. Listen, they all can get it. They'll get something out of this as I'm asking you questions. So you guys chill out. I know I was a little selfish for a second. So anyway, so tell me about Queen Bee. What's Queen Bee? Is that like your gym, or is that something you got going on?
That's just like my brand, you know. Just kind of came from like I think years of like in the gym, like, you know, I was towards the end of my career and we got all these new people that come in and they just saw me as like the mom of the gym. And, you know, and it was like, you know, that just became like a nickname, was Queen Bee, just ask Queen Bee, you know. And so I just thought it'd be funny. I got the tattoo on my knuckle, the Queen Bee. And and then it was like, okay, like I want to start. I mean, I had been doing like online coaching now for oh my gosh, it's been 7 or 8 years. Then it was like, okay, I need to start, you know, just making it more of like a brand and like make a website and things like that. Just to brand myself kind of. And it was like, what should I call it? And it was like, it just seemed natural just to call it Queen Bee Power. So got the website, got everything set up, and now it's, you know, we've got Team QBP, like of all my lifters that I coach online and or in person, whatever. But that's just kind of, it just kind of evolved like naturally into that, you know. So it's you know, I do personal training, I do like online coaching, you know, things like that, and you know, seminars and clinics and things like that.
Are you still doing seminars like around?
I had been until COVID, you know.
I know it, man. Shut us all down.
I had been on doing the CrossFit powerlifting course, like teaching that for a long time, and which they had hired Louie back in the day to do that. I think it was like way back in 2009. They brought Louie on as the CrossFit powerlifting instructor. We would go and help him teach these courses. They were always at Westside. And then we did that for like a while, and then they wanted Louie to start traveling to teach the course. We did that a couple of times with him, went to travel, and it was, he does not travel well. He doesn't like it. He just, you know, he's like, he wants people to come to him. You know, I get it. Like, you know, he's 70 years old. He's like, why am I traveling around? And you know, so he didn't do it anymore. So I started traveling all over the place, all over the world to teach this CrossFit powerlifting course. And it was such an awesome experience because it's a 2-day course. And to just constantly reiterate and teach people, and like, you know, it just became drilled into my brain. It like, you know, I had this one way of that Louie taught it, and then I would go visit and, you know, train at Westside one weekend or something like that, and they'd be doing something totally different. I'm like, wait a minute, like on your papers that you gave me to teach is something different. Or people would say like, well, I saw they posted a day they did a 5x5, but you're saying to do a 12x2, and I'm like, I know. I'm like, it just constantly changes. You just have to tell people like, it's, you know, there's certain volume rules, but like, you know, beyond that, like it's be creative and, you know, kind of adjust it to your athlete or to yourself or whatever. It's constantly evolving. As long as you stay within the few certain rules to make sure you're not, you know, overtraining, you know, overdoing the volume and the percentages, you can do whatever you want, you know, like whether it's a 12 by 2, or I like an 8 by 3, for students, just stuff like that,
Yeah, that makes sense. As long as you follow, like, obviously with like Prilipin's chart and understanding those loading parameters. That's why I tell my guys too, because I have a coaching course that I have online, and like there's stuff that I have in there from I don't know, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's totally different now. Some of the stuff that I do with the fighters, with the athletes I have, just watching different tendencies, but it all is still similar to the methods and the system we have in place. They just got to realize that some of the protocols may change a little bit here and there, or the rep scheme or whatever. But just like you said, it's just as long as you have that baseline of understanding of what you're doing. So I could imagine though, like people being like, he said this, and he,
yeah, exactly. It's so funny, but just it was kind of cool just to be able to like just have all that experience, teaching it, and then it just kind of later turned into just doing my own clinics, where it was just, they're not like 2 days long. I thought that was just really long. So now I just do one day, like, for 5 to 6 hours. Cause I enjoy coaching more of the technique. We still talk about like the programming and stuff like that in these clinics, but I enjoy teaching like technique. Like I want to teach someone how to properly do a box squat to get the most out of it. Same thing with a bench press, deadlift, and key accessories like the chair deadlift, because people all the time are like, I really want to do that. I understand that the benefit of it, but like, it's like, I'm trying to do it. It's raking my shins. And I'm like, okay, because they watched the one video that Louis put out with Abby Grove sitting in an actual folding chair, doing it. And she's super short. And I'm like, to be a guy that's like, almost 6 feet tall, being like, I just can't, the bar's not moving anywhere, banging my shins. Just helping people adjust the height of their chair or their box, and teaching them how to get the most out of it, So I like to do the clinics now that are mostly technique, and especially with I'm obsessed with like teaching accessory work. I love posting different accessory movements so that people like get different ideas, fresh ideas, and learn how to do the movements properly.
Yeah, I think honestly people get a lot more out of that than just kind of sitting there listening to you lecture all day long. Right. I do run 2 days, and I do see that like after like 3 p.m., if I'm going from like, let's say 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., after 3 p.m., I don't even want to hear myself talk. I'm like, I'm kind of over it now. So like that second day I get to like hands-on, I get to teach them certain things.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. They want to be active and doing hands-on stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. You have 2 days worth of hands-on, and I think, I found too that like, if you talk a little bit and then do some stuff, talk a little bit and then do some stuff, it keeps their attention better than, just like a lot of talking and then a lot of doing,
So if you guys are out there, coaches out there that are trying to do seminars, take it from Queen Bee over here. You got to make sure you talk and then you show. You talk and then you show.
Talk and show.
And you have to be able to do the movements too. Don't just be out there trying to just coach it up or teach it up and not be able to do it. I hate that. By the way.
That's why I'm like, I better be able to practice what I preach.
Yeah. Oh, well, we know you do. That's without a doubt. All right. So I have some questions here from some of my coaches. Now, are you're at a CrossFit gym now, or is that something that you own?
So we have both. There's the personal training, powerlifting gym. Back in 2013, the space next to the gym opened up, and so we opened up a CrossFit gym there to be able to incorporate like the conjugate method into CrossFit, especially particularly with everyday people that want to do class, not necessarily like your high level athletes, because we had already been like coaching the higher level CrossFit athletes and having them do the conjugate method. But it was like, how would this work with like everyday population? So we started that, and then we moved it across the parking lot to a much bigger space. So now it's in its own building. So we have like both gyms. So I personally now enjoy doing both. I do, a conjugate style lifting program. I haven't competed in like almost 6 years. And then I do CrossFit workouts as well, like conditioning, like Metcons and stuff with the CrossFit athletes. Yeah,
I was gonna ask you, are you doing a little bit of CrossFit there? Like, what's your friend?
Yeah.
I had Josh Bridges on the last
Oh,
episode.
nice. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And
That's so
and
cool. He's so good.
yeah, he gave me some coffee, so I'm like, all right, I love him now. He's good. But we talked about it, and it's just kind of like the rite of passage, like, you know, when he was still active duty in the military, you know, I guess his overseeing officer was like, the only thing that they could ask him was like, what's your Fran time? Like, it's just kind of like a rite of passage, like what's your bench press? So, I mean, like, for you probably get a, what's your Fran time then? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day,
Fran forever. Like,
yeah.
At one point I was trying to be was trying to be good at CrossFit, like for a minute, like, you know, so back then. Now I just do like, you know, like cardio conditioning. I really am just trying to like hold this, I'll be 40 in a couple weeks, and I'm just like, I just want to like be able to do this forever. So like, you know, my days of like, you know, doing like muscle ups or, you know, things like that, I'm just like, I just want to, you know, be able to walk and not hurt in like 10 years. Like,
I hear you. Well, we gotta get some gloves on you. We'll hit some pads. You can do we do a little bit of MMA, some boxing.
Right.
When I come out to Ohio, that's what we'll do. We'll do some.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right. And I guess the other question would be like, what's the most intriguing part of what you're doing right now? Is it more, or what you've done and what you're doing now? Is it the competition side of powerlifting, running your own business, or being such a dominant figure in a sport that was predominantly male in a sense? What was the most intriguing thing for you coming up in that world?
I just like, I loved doing, it's like I found my thing, you know what I mean? Like it was, you know, doing gymnastics, I was good, but not really like, you know, Olympic level or even college level. I love that. And I was like, I just, you know, I feel like there's something that that I could do that I'd be really good at. And so once I found this thing that I just like was good at and like, you know, could do things that no one had ever done before. That was like, I was obsessed with that. Like, you know, my whole world revolved around it. I mean, it wasn't like, with powerlifting, it's not like MMA or even CrossFit where it's like you have to train multiple times a day. Powerlifting, even to be the best in the world, you know, you wouldn't want to train that much, you know, like it's about efficiency with your training. So, you know, I was still able to have a career and things like, you know what I mean? So it was kind of nice to be able to have a normal life, but still, I mean, when I say my life revolved around it, it was like, you know, I was always in bed on time and never drank ever, you know, I just, you know, everything, it was all about like, about getting stronger. I never missed training, you know, unless I had the flu or something. You know, I just, that was so awesome to me to be able to like achieve something that no one else had. And, you know, and at some point, I never intended on retiring or stopping. I just literally got to a point where there were more people joining the gym, and I was like, my training group started to grow with like women and you know, I started having all these women training, and next thing you know, I'm caring more about like what they're doing and like coaching them through the workout, and, you know, trying to get them better and get them stronger. And I was just something spoke to me. I was like, I think this is where I'm supposed to go now. I'm starting to get tired and beat up, and, you know, I'm starting to like, you know, I feel like of course there's always something more you can accomplish, but I just started to feel like I was satisfied with what I accomplished. And now here's this other challenge, you know, to make other people better. And like, you know, so I didn't really like say this is my last meet. I just started helping other people. And so I started helping this group of girls, and ended up coaching a girl to break my record. So, which with the record meaning like I was the first female to total 11 times body weight. That 1,800 pound total was 11 times body weight. And so I started working with this girl that I just knew there's just something, you know, that people have that, you know, she was obviously strong, but she just had this thing like where she just, I don't know, I could just see it in her eyes. The same thing that I had, I could recognize. So
it's the it factor. The it factor.
Right. And so that was equally, even like breaking the 11 time body weight total or any world record that I broke, when she did the 11.2 or whatever it was that day, times body weight, when she beat my record, that to me was more as satisfying as if I did it, you know?
Yeah.
So that's when I knew I was like, this is the direction I'm going to go, is just, you know, coaching other people and trying to do this. You know, I didn't want to be that person that just like kind of kept holding on and like just like fading away, you know.
I know.
It's just,
I was gonna say that you kind of I didn't say pull away, but you got away from it while you were on top, and that's
right.
A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people stay in the game. That's in any sport, honestly, any sport.
Oh,
I see
for
a lot
sure.
with the fighters. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was like felt fortunate that I had this other thing or this other talent, like you know, with helping other people or coaching other people to you know, fill that you know, void or that satisfaction, you know, that need, you know. So that kind of helped, rather than, because if I didn't even have that, if I didn't have any of that, like maybe I would just still keep trying and trying. But you know, I've, you know, found this other thing that I enjoyed equally, you know, was to coach other people and kind of see what I could do with that, like building that thing, you know.
Yeah, gotcha. So I wanted to ask you this, and I was going to ask you earlier, but for you, what was like was it a defining moment, or you know, did it just go along? But what I was going to say was, you know, when did you realize that you were like, oh shit, I'm pretty damn strong? You know, because obviously you are. So like, was it like a certain time in training or at a meet, or were you just like continuously seeing the progression go further?
So that prior to even choosing to do powerlifting, I remember like one of those non-sanctioned powerlifting meets that I did. I remember I deadlifted 405 or something, just raw in a pair of socks, like conventional. And I remember the owners of that gym being like, you could deadlift 500 if you wanted to. And I'm like, that's crazy, but that sounds amazing, you know? And, you know, so hearing that, that kind of got me intrigued. And then, once I, you know, just, you know, went up to Detroit to train at this gym, they had these, you know, older powerlifters. I remember coming in, and the one guy came in to help me squat, cause I didn't even have my briefs yet. I was still squatting raw. And he wrapped my knees. I'd never had my knees wrapped before. He wrapped my knees, and I think I squatted like 405 that day or something. And he was really impressed. And I was like, maybe this is good. I don't know. Like, I have nothing to compare it to. But you know, it was those guys that I started training with that like really were like, you know, every week we would go in, I was just training with them. At that time, I still didn't really know a whole lot about how to put together the conjugate system. At that time, I was like, I'm in their place. I'm going to do what they do. Yeah. And that was every Saturday, just put the gear on and just go heavy. Like, like, oh my gosh, we just went heavy every single weekend. And every weekend we would squat, and every weekend, the numbers they went up significantly, like 400, 430, 450, 460, you know, like it was just going up like crazy every week. And then like at that point, with as easy as it was moving, I knew the world record at that time was 611. And I was just like, I had no doubt at all. Like my level of confidence back then, I'm like, geez, like I don't know, like it was so crazy. I just really was like, I will be able to break that record. And like I said, the first meet I did was 550, and then I was able to talk the owner of the WPO into letting me lift in their semifinals a couple months later in September. And because I said I'll break the world record, you know, they probably were like, they had no clue who I was. And I mean, I think back now and I'm like, I cannot believe what balls I had, because the world record was 611 and I opened up with 617. You know, like,
I'm just going to go here and just stamp my approval on this one right there.
No one knew who I was. I show up and I opened with 617. Then I went 661 and I got that. And then I went 683 and I got that. And immediately, like, the people from Menzer like gave me a sponsorship right there. And they're like, but that day was a very defining moment. I mean, I was nobody, and then I go to this meet where Louis is there, all the top lifters in the whole world were there at this competition. And it just like that day just like put me on the map. So that was the day that I was like, all right, this is yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. And like knowing Louis now, he probably was like, yeah, she's going to come train at the gym now.
Yes.
Like,
Oh yeah, for sure.
We need her.
Yeah. I started going up there I remember with Jason Fry, like, cause he lived kind of in my area. And so we would go there, and lift on Sundays. And then Louis was like, do you want to, I can't remember how he asked me or what he said about like, you know, like truly like being a Westside lifter. Like, I think he knew that I wasn't going to like move there to train, but like he still wanted me to be on, you know, one of the Westside lifters, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Cause sometimes I know that he usually tells a lot of guys they have to move over to Columbus.
Yeah. I was just kind of like, I don't think I ever said like, this is how it's going to be or else I'm not doing it. But it was just kind of like, he knew, like, I'm not willing to like, just like put all my eggs in one basket and only be a power lifter in Columbus, Ohio. Like I want to open this gym. I want to like do these things and, you know, I'll still, you know, break records.
I think that is a testament to your abilities too, as well. I think maybe he found like, he was like, all right, she doesn't even have to be here and she can still be stronger than all these girls. So that was probably what happened, where the other guys are like, yeah, listen, man, this is what you're doing. Yeah, 100% is over. What? All right. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I have to do this. And hopefully it's not too bad of a question for you. So for you, I know you've had a long history with Louis. What was the most interesting or most memorable moment that you've had with Louis, just training and being a part of Westside?
See, I got to like have all the good experiences with Louis. I know everybody's got like their stories, or, you know, when they train there full time, like they've got definitely stories of, you know, good and bad, you know, like just drama or this or that. But my experiences are always amazing. He's always been so good to me, like so welcoming and so positive. And, you know, so I do not have like any like funny, like crazy story or anything. I literally like probably the most memorable moment I have with Louis is like at a competition where I remember which one I can't remember which one it was specifically, but like I did well, and you know, and like I saw him like get kind of choked. He gave me a hug and he kind of got choked up. Like I've seen Louis in his more vulnerable states. You know, I don't ever see Louis. I've never seen Louis when he's like enraged or mad or whatever. I've always seen Louis in his more vulnerable states where he's like emotional if I did well. Also like comforting when I didn't do well. I had a year where I bombed out of like every meet. Like it was a bad year. I don't know what was going on. And he was like, you know, I was okay. Like if I bomb out at a competition, I don't dwell on it. I don't get all like, you know, bummed out like 5 minutes and I'm moved on. I mean, what can I do about it? But I remember just at some point, like I was literally like, I'm so sorry, Luke. 'Cause I'm representing him. You know, I don't want him to be like mad, you know, and he was just really understanding and you know, told me a story about him bombing out 11 times in a row once, you know, and then after that, once for no reason, he just kind of snapped out of it and had the best year he'd ever had, you know. And that this thing happened to me, like, you know, it just like I just got over it and then had 2008 was a great year.
Yeah.
You know, so my experiences with Louis are literally only good. Like I wish I had some funny, like crazy stories, because I know people do have them, but
I got mine. I know I do.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Nah, he's honestly like a figure. Like you're like, when I went there last, I want to say maybe 9 months ago or something like that. And I know Tom from the MMA world. Right. You know, and then I've met Louis when I was like 16 or 17, long time ago, right? Wow. He obviously doesn't remember me, right? so like I come in the gym and this was like 5:30 in the morning, right? Or something around there. Some
he gets there early.
Early. Yeah, it was early. And I go there and then he's like, he walks in. I'm talking with Tom, and I had my ATT hoodie on, and he was like, hey, how you doing? Like, you know, just super nice and so quiet. Like walked in, he looked like Yoda. And I was like, I was like, hey, what's up, bro? And we started talking. And then as soon as I started talking about MMA, it was over. You know what I mean? And I was like, all right. So he's like, oh, try this, do that, put that on,
Oh
put
yeah.
that on. And I must have hit every machine in the gym, you know. And the funny thing is, I hit a PR on like the inverse curl, and he was like guiding me around the way and showing me the M19 and all this other stuff. But you could tell like he still loves it. He still loves it. It's crazy to be that age and still just always be in the gym. It's crazy.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. He'll still talk to people for hours and show them things, and you know, it's unreal. I mean, I would be just exhausted by then.
He's a funny guy, man. Like I went back and we were talking with Tom again in the office, and I was telling him what I do with the fighters. You know, obviously I have to condense the model down to 2 days a week a lot of the time, especially in camp. And he's like, no, you're doing everything right. Cause I thought he was going to like rip me a new one because I kind of like, it's not 4 days. It's not, you know, it's not what we have. But he was like, no, you're doing everything right. And then he goes, I'm not going to say otherwise because you could probably kick my ass. And he walked out. And I was like, hold on. I wouldn't even touch you with a 10-foot pole, man. You're too much of a legend, man. So it was funny.
He loves MMA, like loves it.
Yeah, I'll get back out there at some point as soon as this craziness is over. And I want to come see you too as well. Awesome. Definitely. We'll get a workout in and we'll hit some pads and have some fun.
Oh my God.
I would like to run you through, like we could do it together, but run you through an MMA based S&C program, like just a day, right? Yeah. That would be good. Cause you'll see there's a lot of similarities. If you see anything else on my Instagram, it's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I was like, and I voted for you today on that thing.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
I was like, I mean, I think that like the conjugate system, obviously for any sport is the ideal way to train. But, you know, so when I see people, you know, training that way for MMA and stuff, I'm like, that's what they should be doing. So it's like, yes, you know, he'll get more notoriety so more people can, you know, do that.
For sure. Yeah. All right. So I have 2 more questions for you. And this is something that I ask all of the guests. One is usually like I like to see exactly what successful people do on a daily basis. And the first thing that we usually do is have a routine in the morning. Right. Now for me, I have my routine, but what is your morning routine, daily routine? What do you like to do as soon as you wake up and start your day?
I literally am such a routine person. Like I thrive on routine. So, you know, my alarm goes off, I get the dogs out of bed. I carry my one dog all the way down out and outside because he's old. And so we go outside, they go to the bathroom, we come in, they know to lay on the couch because I'm about to take a shower. I take my shower, get ready. Then we go to the gym. I take the dogs to the gym. And they chill in the car while I go to the CrossFit gym. I work out there at the CrossFit gym first. Or I'll go to the stadium, we'll run the stairs or, you know, something like that. So usually like, it's not ideal. I would always tell people like do your strength stuff first and then your conditioning. But like with my schedule, that's just the way it has to be. I got to do my conditioning stuff first thing in the morning. And then I go over to work. I go back over to the other gym and train my morning clients, my personal training clients. Gotcha. And then after I'm done with my, you know, cause I only train for clients for a couple hours in the morning. And then I do my strength stuff after I train them. Then I come home and have lunch. So I don't even eat in the morning. I just wait. I do like intermittent fasting. So I don't eat till like noon. Wow. You know, so I don't have to worry about any of that. I do all my training, you know, conditioning, train clients, strength stuff, home, eat, and do my computer work with all the online people. So
so that how much coffee are you drinking?
I don't drink any coffee.
You don't drink any coffee?
No.
Oh man. I'm gonna
when I was competing, oh my God, I don't like the taste of coffee. Otherwise I probably would enjoy like having caffeine every day. But when I was competing, I just like had this thing. I think I was just mentally addicted to like pre-workout. You know, and so I just always had to have that every day. And I just still was like tired. And then after I got done competing and stuff, I did Whole30. I've done Whole30 like 7 or 8 times, you know, and so
what's like, Whole30? What's Whole30?
That's just 30 days of no sugar, no grains, no alcohol, no dairy. So basically just meat and potatoes and vegetables and, you know, stuff like that. So couldn't have the pre-workout then. So I didn't have that. And I was like, once I realized it kind of got like weaned off of the caffeine from pre-workout and stuff, I was like, I literally don't feel any different. Like when I train, I don't feel less energized or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just got used to training and living without caffeine. And, now like every once in a while, if I, have a big day or if I'm going to drive somewhere and I need to stay awake or something, I'll drink like a Bang or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-caffeine. I just don't, I don't have anything that I can drink every day,
Gotcha.
It's got caffeine in it that's not like totally unhealthy,
Yeah, I hear you. I'm constantly drinking caffeine. I know it's bad.
Yeah.
at this point, I do it for taste. I don't even do it for like the benefit.
I love the taste like of a Rain or a Bang. Oh my gosh, it tastes so good.
I've been see Bang the company is in West Palm Beach here in Florida, and I'm like, why don't I have a sponsor by now? Like you're on every video, man. Like, so Bang again.
Sitting there in the podcast drinking.
All the time. So I transitioned over to Celsius. So Celsius,
okay,
all at me.
A healthier thing, or
no, definitely not. All right. So the second question, last one. Okay, now take your time on this one. It could be physical, it could be mental, spiritual, but for you, and obviously you're a strong person, right? Physically, mentally, what does a strong person mean to you? What's like the definition of a strong individual?
Definitely it's not like physical to me. Like obviously, being strong is strong physically, but mentally strong is like someone who's disciplined, because you're not, I always tell people like, I see people like, and they'll just find any reason to skip a workout or something. And it's like, you're not always going to be motivated, but that's when you're like a disciplined person would, be able to continue. And I think that, I look back now and I'm like, I think that's what I had was discipline. I wasn't always motivated. I didn't always want to I was like, I do love working out, but like, someone who's disciplined in every area, strong-willed, disciplined person who's, I would honestly think that a strong person is someone who's kind also, is can kind of get things done, but still, be a generous, caring person, so it's kind of, generous, caring person who's also, disciplined in every aspect, can, you can just think a disciplined person is someone who are the people that will accomplish the most,
Yeah, for sure. That makes perfect sense. And honestly, I don't think I've had some strong people on here. One of the world's strongest man I've had under 108 kilos. And he said the same thing. Anthony Furman said the same thing. Oh,
I know Anthony. We were teammates with bodybuilding.com.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Anthony's funny, man. I think he
is hilarious.
I think he thinks he's Spanish or something like that.
I can't remember what he calls it. I don't remember.
Yeah, La Flava.
Yeah.
So, but you guys, like, arguably strongest people in the world, but are not talking about the physical side of this question.
Right, no, it's someone who's humble, disciplined, that's what I like to see in someone who can still be good at something, but, doesn't have to tell everybody about it, you just, if you're a good person and you're good at something or whatever, it'll speak for itself. You don't need to say anything about it,
Yeah, for sure. No, that's great. All right, Laura, so let's do this first. I want you to go ahead and plug everything that you have, your online coaching, your gym, social media. Do it up. It's your time. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, I pretty much everything. My website is queenbeepower.com, of course, queenbeepower.com. That's where I keep everything, like the links to the online coaching. They can contact me with anybody that wants like individual coaching or personal training. Everything's on there. Any seminars that are coming up, which aren't coming up right now, because who knows when we can do that. But actually over quarantine, I was like, what am I going to do? Because, so I started doing the Zoom clinics, so I kind of broke down each lift, like the box squat, the bench press, the deadlift. I did an at home, version. I still demonstrating with a bar and everything, but breaking down technique for those. And that ended up being awesome because I had a ton of people who attended, but then I recorded them so that people could purchase it later, to be able to watch it. And, that way, like if someone can't attend one of these clinics that I eventually will be able to do again in person, there's these ones, and you can, if you only want to learn about box squat, it's everything's in the online store on my website, queenbeepower.com. Those clinics are recorded in there.
Nice.
So yeah, everything's on queenbeepower.com. My Instagram is queenbeepower. So Instagram, and then my website has everything else. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I do like the Queen Bee Power Instagram that you got going on now.
Yeah,
I just found that, so I'm like, all right, cool. You got all the some of the exercises there too. So that's
yeah.
dope.
The team QBP page is all just like my personal page is has some exercises and some like personal photos or whatever, but the team QBP page is all just like training and things like that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really look forward to like hanging out if you do come to Ohio. If we ever let anybody in the state.
I know, right?
Yeah. So we'll have to get together and
we will.
share ideas and stuff.
For sure. I'm pretty confident. I'm hoping to get out there in August, to be honest with you. So definitely in August. I'll bring my camera guy so we can put you on some camera
Awesome.
time, hitting some pads and showing you stuff. And Steffi Cohen. You know Steffi Cohen?
Yes. Yep.
So Steffi's coming up Wednesday, and we're gonna do some pad work.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Training session.
All that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see how she does, but
awesome.
we could do like a side by side. No sparring matches. We ain't gonna do none of that.
Oh God, she would crush me.
No, but we can have. I'm telling you, when it comes down to just because of your athleticism, it'll be fun. Trust me.
Yeah. Good.
All right. Well, thanks again, Laura. I do appreciate your time. Everything. This will be out in a couple of weeks. And I'll let you know. And then obviously I'll check you out in August.
Okay. Sounds good. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.